We'll now look at basic interest problems. In order to talk about these, we'll need to define a few variables. The first is P, which is the amount of the loan or the amount of the investment. This is known as the principal. R is the rate of interest on either our loan or our investment. T is then the number of years the money is either deposited or loaned, so the amount of time that has passed in years. And then I is the total amount of interest earned. So then, in order to solve these problems, we need to know our simple interest formula. And it states that I is equal to PRT. So the amount of interest comes from multiplying your principal by your interest rate as a decimal times the amount of years. So let's look at a few examples of this. Suppose you have $4,500 to invest for 1 year. You know you want to earn $211.50 in interest. So what rate do you need to invest the money at? So we're looking for our interest rate, which is R. So that's our variable. We also know that this is an interest problem. We can see that we're talking about interest on an investment, so we should know our formula. I equal to PRT. And so now it's just a matter of filling in the blanks. I is interest, and the problem tells us we want to earn $211.50 in interest. P is then the principal, or the amount we're investing, which is $4,500. R is the interest rate. This is the thing we don't know, so it's going to stay as R. Finally, T is the number of years, and this says we're going to invest for 1 year, so T is 1. So now we have our equation. The right-hand side can be simplified. So now we have 211.5 is equal to 4,500 R. We can then divide both sides by 4,500, and we get 0.047 is equal to R. Therefore, in order to get the amount of interest that we want to earn, we need to invest at 4.7% interest rate. Let's look at another slightly harder problem. You took out 2 separate student loans for a total of $10,000. You know that one of those is at 4% interest and the other was at 5.5% interest. And after 1 year, you owe $460 in interest. So we want to figure out how much was each loan for. So there's actually 2 pieces of information that we need from this. We're going to let one of them be X. We're going to let the amount loaned at 4% be equal to X. So then we can figure out the amount loaned at 5.5% using the fact that it was a total of $10,000. The amount loaned at 5.5% would then be $10,000 minus X, since it has to be the rest of the $10,000. We can also use a very, very basic setup for this. We should feel pretty comfortable that we can just add our interest. The interest at 4% plus the interest at 5% should be equal to our total interest. However, the next part of this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So let's start with the amount of interest at 4%. Well, we know it would be PRT. So the amount loaned at 4%, X, times the rate, 0.04, times the time, and this is 1 year. So the amount loaned at 4% is going to be 0.04x. For the amount loaned at 5.5%, we need the amount loaned at that rate, which is 10,000 minus x. The actual rate, 0.055, times the amount of time, which once again is 1 year. So that gives us the amount of interest at 5.5%. And that should be equal to the total amount of interest, which is the $460. The next step would be to start multiplying this out to get rid of the parentheses. That gives us 0.04x plus 550 minus 0.055x is equal to 460. We can then combine like terms. That gives us negative 0.015x plus 550 is equal to 460. We can subtract 550 from both sides. That gives us negative 0.015x is equal to minus 90. We then divide both sides by negative 0.015. And that would give us that x is 6,000. So now we have the answer to the problem. So we know that 6,000 was loaned at 4%, which means the remaining 4,000 was loaned at 5.5%.